Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Real Talk here on TV 35. I'm your host, Pat Brock, and we're here spreading awareness about Alzheimer's and dementia, and we've got some special people in the studios that have been coming in and sharing with us. And we have someone that's extra special here, Miss Janice Gruber. How are you, Janice?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Doing very well. And we know that this is a very intimate conversation that we're about to have because it's dealing with our family, it's dealing with our loved ones, and in particular, your mom, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So share with us, Janice, about you and your family and first discovery about your mom, because you remember her. She's still vibrant, but how vibrant she was growing up. Share with us.
So, Mom was a very nurturing mother, which I'm very blessed because I hopefully am more of a nurturing mother as well, because she was so nurturing, and it helps me now as the roles have sort of reversed. Yeah. To nurture and help her. And when she apologizes or says, you know, I hate to inconvenience you, I said, Mom, how many times have you helped me growing up? How many nights have you stayed up because I needed you or one of my sisters needed you? So I'm very blessed with having a nurturing mom that was there for 4 girls with whatever we needed. And
that's right.
So, but Super Saturday in 2016, our family had gotten together. My youngest sister lives in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and she had come down with a real dear friend, and we all did, you know, all the activities together. That's like one of our favorite things to do as a family in the community. And Mother wasn't feeling her best, but when we suggested that she stay home and that, you know, we offered us, one of us would stay with her, she was not going to have it. She was not missing. My youngest son was playing the drum with the Dublin High School band, and she was she was going to go see that grandson march in the parade. So we had our family fun, and throughout the day we had to do some adjustments with her not feeling the best. We adjusted from a few things the way we normally do it to doing it a little bit different, but she was still involved and still downtown with everybody. And that evening she had a major issue after dinner, and we rushed her to the ER, and my youngest sister Jordan, and I held hands and stood in the ER while they were frantically rushing around, maybe 6 or 8 people in the room trying to take care of my mom. And we almost lost her several times that night. And fast forward, she ended up in the hospital for about a month, and then she went over to a wonderful rehab facility in the community and was there for 6 weeks. So my daughter and youngest son and I signed up to sort of camp out at Grandma's or to move in to rehab her until she could get back to driving and dancing with the boot scooters and going with her friends, like, you know, like normal
life as usual.
She was a very busy lady. And when we moved in to help her rehab through, it was a really high blood pressure she had, and then they were trying to keep her from going to a full heart attack. You know, her blood pressure was over 277. And so once we got in the home, she had been living alone, and we saw her daily, but now that my children were older, she wasn't their caregiver anymore, so wasn't in her home as much, and she was busy going and doing with her friends. And as far as I knew, everything was fine. Once I moved into the home, I realized that she had been maybe having a little bit of memory issues before that incident. And I just was unaware of it because I would just see her for a short period of time, and we would talk about whatever we were planning to talk about, and I didn't pick up on the fact that she may have needed some assistance more than she was getting at home, and she never thought she needed any.
Of course, you know, your mom's always been self-sufficient. Every time I would see her through, you know, in town, Pat, you know, or I see her with her girlfriends and they'd be out movie night. I remember sitting on the same row with her and her girlfriends, and I kind of bent down. I'm like, Miss Nanette, is that you? And, you know, so she's used to being self-sufficient. She's used to being a social butterfly. She's used to being active in the community. So these are things that
was a big hurdle for us.
Right.
Now, when she had, years before that, she had double bypass, it was still difficult to get her to want to stay home.
Right.
But she had a goal, in 8 to 10 weeks, she'll be back doing these things. So when I was there, we thought the same thing. And I was telling her, you'll get to go back.
Yeah, just hold on. Hold on. Yeah.
And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. Her memory issues went to a different level, and finally, had checked with her doctor. She has a wonderful doctor over at the medical center that has really been a blessing to me and really helped me a lot.
Right.
He's always got time to answer my questions and talk to me like a friend, and so if I'm in a situation and I don't know the answer, or they say, do you want to do it this way or that way, if I'm having to make the decision with medical, I would say, what would you do if she was your mom?
Right.
And he's
to kind of put yourself in
and he's
shoes.
been really helpful to me, and if it's something out of his
level of expertise or comfort,
he will share that with me, and he'll tell me, refer me to someone. So he's been a big help to me as well.
And how old is your mom?
My mother's 81.
She's 81 years old, so it was kind of her late 70s when you...
She was 79.
79 when you started seeing the changes. Now, how did that affect you all? Because you were used to your mom doing and going. How did that affect you personally?
Well, honestly, I don't know if it affected us the same way it would the majority of people, because we kind of... I know the world might say we were in denial, but we were told that maybe some of the medications that they had put her on from that hospital stay may be causing it. So I, didn't really ask the question or find out that she had a disease that she was going to continue to deteriorate and continue to change. So it was probably almost a year of caregiving that it was just, is this just walk in the room and forget what you walked in there for because I did that? And or was this something more serious? Was it the medicine? And if it was the medicine, can we change the medicine, or does she have to have this medicine to be able to live? Is this, there was a lot of issues with balance of medicines for her, and she was a frequent flyer of Fairview Park Hospital. After that month stay, it was every 3 or 4 weeks we were back in the hospital for a week because they were having a really difficult time managing her blood pressure and finding a medication that would work with several things that she had were working against each other.
And I remember that time because I remember the day she was there at the parade when I saw you all, in your usual spot, so to speak, and I know she had gotten sick that night. And I actually went to visit your mom in the nursing home because my aunt was there. And I went to see her, and I remember, in my mind, I feel like, I feel like when she sees me, she knows who I am. For some reason, I feel like she knows who I am. And I went in her room, and I said, Miss Nanette, look at all these books you got in here, and you got it looking so neat. She was still that Miss Nanette that I've always known through the years. And so do you kind of get moments of that? Of her going back to,
She, there's so many different stages, and because we're all so individual, that I don't think that you can really, I know that someone has tried to give people a guideline in a book form or in pamphlets and things, but the honest truth, until you've been there and taken care of someone, my mom is not going to be the same as even my own daughter or sister or aunt, and it wouldn't be the same, because to me it has a lot to do with what she already, the activities she was already doing. I'm not a doctor. I say that all the time when people ask me things. I'm just a daughter, not a doctor, and that's what I tell her. But I personally, for my mother only, I think that her love of books has really saved her and kept her with me a little bit longer. She reads all the time. She loves to read, and she was such a social butterfly. That's what she probably misses the most. You can ask any of the caregivers in my home.
Right.
It's 5:00. I get off at 5, and at 5:12 they'll say, "Where's your mama?"
Change that shift.
She'll say, "Where's your mama? What are we doing? What are we doing?"
Right, right.
I said, "Well, Mama, I just got off of work. I was just going to rest. I was going to rest a minute, and then we'll figure out what. Well, we're not doing anything today." I said, "Mama, I promise you, I'll take you somewhere to do something, but just give me a second."
Give you a second.
She's always ready to go.
Always ready to go. We're going to talk a little more about that in just a moment. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, with Miss Janice Gruber.
Are you tired of your power bill taking up all your money? Then pick up the phone and call A1 Metals and More at 296-2159 and let us help you lower your power bill but still keep you cool this summer. Call A1 Metals and More for your country carports, red iron buildings, metal underpinnings, and so much more. Our metal roofing is manufactured on site right here in Dublin. Shop local and save. Get wholesale prices on energy efficient products at A1 Metals and More, 1804 Academy Avenue in Dublin.
Portions of this program are brought to you by Johnson Brothers Funeral Home, serving our community since 1937.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, speaking with Janice Gruber about her mom, Nanette, and how they navigate through life with her, with the changes that have taken place since her diagnosis with Alzheimer's. You know, when you're talking about caregivers, you know, that's a thankless job when you think about it. But it's also one that you're fortunate enough to be trusted with to be able to do. When did you decide that you were going to be the one to take care of your mom in the home for as long as you could do so? And what made you decide to do that?
The second I heard a doctor, that I won't name names, this is not her regular doctor, but a hospitalist. The second I heard him say, after that month's stay, that he had already started the paperwork, and there was a lady that was going to come up and talk to my sister and I about my mother going into Dublin Air Nursing Home. And I looked at my sister, I looked at my mom, and I'm like, do we have any other options here? Do we have any choices here? So of course my sister and I needed time to talk, and sometimes, you know, we're very transparent with my mom. We don't talk behind her back and all, but sometimes you just need to just talk, because I didn't want her to hear me say anything and her misunderstand what I was saying, or her think that I'd promised something before I did. My sister and I, this may not be a big deal to some people, but I am very, very appreciative and grateful for the lake at Fairview Park Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's just, you know, some people, it doesn't do it that for them,
but it's peaceful.
Yes, and we walked, we told Mom we got to talk about some things, and we're going, and we went down there and we had a nice talk, and I immediately signed up to go home but again, I think I mentioned earlier, I thought I was signing up for a little bit of rehab, like 8 weeks of rehab, and now we've been there over 2 years.
Over 2 years, that's right.
And I even have people call me. I've had letters sent to me trying to rent my house or buy my house, and I'm like, sir, I'm just going to be really, honest with you. All my stuff's in my house.
Right.
People don't understand. My mother.
So you moved to her house. You went to her house.
Yes, because she does much better. I think that is a big situation with Alzheimer's and dementia is familiarity. And I found out even when we travel, even when we go somewhere she wants to go, taking a few of her, like her blanket and her favorite cup. Yeah. That way she sees that cup or sees that blanket in that hotel room that she's unfamiliar with, and she immediately feels safe and comfortable because she has those things and has us with her. But
yeah, that's sweet. I get that. I get that. And and we want to say this as well. Not everyone is able to or makes that decision to be a caregiver as far as within the home. there's some great facilities here
That's what I was
for that
and
individual.
I very well
yeah.
may be using them one day.
Right.
I'm more than certain I will be.
Right, but where you are right now.
Right now I'm able, but it's because I have, a really strong village that's,
Yes.
I have, daily I have a daughter and a son that are helping, and then I have a sister that comes and gives us breaks and
Yeah.
helps, and then I have an older son that lives out of town, but he and his wife, not only do they come and help, when they come to visit, they realize what we
Right.
do on a day in and day out basis, and they'll grab, and they also, he knows that Mama likes adventure,
Right.
so he'll pop Grandma in a car in a heartbeat and take her somewhere. She half the time doesn't know where she's going, but she
she's
just
going.
enjoys going with him.
That's beautiful.
And he plans trips. They
Yeah.
took her on a cruise just.
Did they?
They took her on a cruise last September.
What did she say when she got back?
Oh, she just had so much fun. Of course, she didn't want to leave. She wanted to stay on the cruise.
Right, right.
But they have another trip planned this September to take her without me.
Oh,
She does sometimes panic just a little bit when
Right.
she hears that she's going somewhere without me.
Yeah.
But then I have to remind her that she's not with me all the time. That these are able bodies, and
That's right.
they've helped her. My daughter and younger son and sister and
Yeah.
older son, they all help so that I can work.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position where, I wish I was, but I'm not in a position where I can just stay home with Mom and be her 100% caregiver because I need to work.
That's right.
But that way we kind of share the role.
How do the grandkids now see how their role has changed a little bit with their grandmother for having to help take care of her? How do they handle that with their, of course, your son just graduating from, high school, getting ready to go to college. How do they handle that?
Well, see, that was what I was so blessed with. In the beginning, they both offered, because I was just going to go over to my mom's house by myself and let my adult daughter stay at my house with my younger son. And we tried actually some different things that I didn't go into details, but we tried taking turns between my daughter and I staying at my house and staying at Mama's house. And we would do a week, and then she would do a week, but it just didn't work for us.
Yeah.
It would work for some people better maybe,
Right.
but she and I were always like, I'd go to work and had this dress but the wrong shoes. They were at the other house.
Right.
She was headed to college, and the book bag was at the other house. And,
Right, right.
And we don't live that far away, so it's not like earth shattering that we
Right.
left it at the other house, but it's just an inconvenience.
So many different things.
Yeah, and then one of the things that I think that we've all really, really enjoyed that we weren't doing until we all went to the one house and worked together as a
Right.
team was having those family meals like I was
Oh,
raised,
wow.
all sitting around the
Yeah.
table together, and that's a good time to be able to visit and explain things to each other. And but see, she was cooking a meal and cleaning it up, and I was cooking a meal at the other house and cleaning it up, and we could have had that time
Right.
together where the children can, visit. And as far as my younger son, I'm with you. I tell people a lot of times, I'm sure there's a lot that would, but I don't think every teenage boy would leave straight from school
Yeah.
to go make sure he gave his grandmother medicine by 3 o'clock, or make sure, that he was her caregiver. And he's been blessed with friends that saw his compassion.
Right.
And then I'm sure there was times where they might not, in their heart, might not like the answer when he say, thank you for inviting me to go play golf or go bowling, but I can't go till after 5.
Wow.
But you're welcome to come over here.
Wow.
Well, so they started coming over there, and they call her grandma just like, and
Just like the kids
they're
would.
so kind to her. There's a couple of them that, if we go out to eat or do something,
Right.
they'll go like gentlemen to open the door. And she's got some issues with her left leg, and she's got that pride, doesn't really like to use the wheelchair in town.
know.
Now, she'll hop in the wheelchair out of town anywhere.
But in town, she's got a reputation.
She will use it if she thinks she's going to fall, but she would prefer one of these nice gentlemen just to walk, if she's just
Right.
going into a restaurant, she would prefer them to walk her in and walk her out. And they've really blessed my heart of how kind
Right.
and not only their friendship with my son, but how kind they are and respectful to my mom.
And I think that, you know, when we treat people like we want to be treated, that it comes back to you. And your mother's always have been kind. And now she's getting all of that love back on her, you know. And the beautiful thing from just listening to you is how your family's working together.
Right.
How you're communicating, how you're making sure that people's schedule works to make sure that mama's okay.
Right.
And that's great.
I wouldn't be able to have mom at her home if I didn't have that. And like I said, there are, you know, the disease is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it very well may be that I won't always be able to have her in her home, but we just signed up to love her through this as long as we could.
And you're doing just that.
I'm very fortunate that if I were to need to use some of the wonderful facilities that we have, that some of my best friends happen to
work there and
happen to be the top dog there. So it's
a win-win for you.
I think for me, just in the back of my mind, knowing that good friends, you know, work at these facilities that she may one day live in, makes me not even worry about that right now or think about that right now. I don't worry about what if we wake up one day and today's the day that we need to go to a different situation, because I know that there's a lot of positive places for her to be right here, and I don't have to go out of town to find
But it's
one.
right here in Dublin.
Right.
All right. We'll be back in a moment, ladies and gentlemen, with Janice.
Ready for some good barbecue? Come on by Southern Heritage Barbecue, 2276 Veterans Boulevard. Home cooked Southern barbecue served fast. Want a killer deal? Sandwich, chips, and drink, just $4.50. Barbecue by the pound, mouth-watering ribs, or delicious Brunswick stew. All at Southern Heritage Barbecue, 2276 Veterans Boulevard. For those special orders, call ahead 275-4304. And check out our new banquet room, Southern Heritage Barbecue, Dublin.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen, talking with Janice. And, you know, Janice, when we're all listening to you and we're kind of playing in our mind like how we ourselves would respond to having a family member with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia, and how we're going to navigate through, we know that there's some things that you grieve, that you miss, you know, because that person is changing a little, you know, and you see the gradual change, the changes. What do you miss? What things do you miss about your mom, or things that you normally would be so quick to do and now you have to make the adjustments?
I believe it's because, as most people that know me know, I'm a chatterbox and I get it honest from my mom.
Are you?
And I think that's what's hurt my feelings the most in the last couple of weeks. Whenever, I don't know why, because again, I'm not a doctor, I'm a daughter.
That's right.
But when I go just to dinner somewhere with her, just the two of us, and it's not the whole family and the children and all, I have a hard time carrying on a conversation with her.
Yeah.
Because she'll forget what we just said. Like, we may be carrying on a conversation about a friend or something, and then the waitress may, you know, come and take our order, and then she's totally forgotten where we were, and I have to start over. So I try to start over sometimes, and then sometimes that offends her, because if I start over and she did remember part of it, then I get kind of caught. So, and then I've always been one that, I'm not saying I don't ever pick up a cell phone at a dinner table, but I try for that not to be, I try for that to be the exception and not the rule. So sometimes I feel like I don't know what to talk to her about, you know.
Wow.
But her memory from the past is great. So that's what I usually do is we talk about, I was like, remember that time you made me my, you know, senior prom dress, and all the girls were worrying about if somebody was going to wear the same dress as them, and I didn't have to worry about that. And you know, and I thank her, you know, again, you know, I really appreciated, you know, you sewing for me and doing things for me, and so I really have those kind of conversations more. I can't really have what happened today conversations because it confuses her for some reason. Now, if she brings up something or asks me something and prompts the conversation, sometimes we can get through a conversation, but usually it causes confusion. And she mixes things together a good bit lately. Like someone will talk about, I may mention Pat and then say that you were going to Hawaii, and then later this evening I may say that, I'm just making up this name, a friend named Jan lost her job. Well then by morning, Pat lost her job. And I'll say, no mama, don't say that out in the public because Pat hadn't lost her job, you know.
So that's
and it's
how her
important, you know.
Right.
But when I say that, I've had to learn not to do that, even though I have to be careful how I word that, because if I say, Mom, don't, you know, if I say, don't say that, I should have just be quiet because she probably, unfortunately, is going to forget it by morning anyway. But if I say that, she feels as though I have reprimanded her. Or she'll say, I'm sorry, you know. And that's not my point of living there and taking her places, is to love her through this disease, not to make her feel like she's done something wrong or feel like she's being punished. So we're all have to really be careful, and sometimes we do misspeak. I'm not going to pretend we don't, but we try really hard. You know, like when we first started helping her, I would tell my children, I said, do not tell Grandma, I just told you that. Tell her again, and tell her in the same tone of voice that you told her the first time. And we all did that, but I will, you know, when the same question's asked the 30th or 40th time, it gets more difficult to use the same tone of voice and answer it again. But when you do, and you keep answering it, then she gets where she'll say, I think you already told me this, but tell me, one more time, you know, rather than saying, I just told you that. It doesn't matter that you just told her that. She wouldn't have asked you again if she didn't remember the answer, so she still needs you to tell her again.
So there's a great deal of patience that has to take over.
I hope this doesn't sound like I'm patting myself, but that's one thing I've said all my life. God bless me with a lot of patience. I only have one thing in the world that I don't have patience with.
What's that? Can you say it on
I
air?
can. I don't have patience with someone that doesn't have patience. Really, if someone's really short, has a short fuse, and I have been patient with all of this, and you can't take care of that,
just a little bit,
then I get a little impatient with you.
I got you.
Like if all of us can do all of these things, then can't you do one thing? You know. So.
And I think that God's graced you with even more patience when you're lovingly caring for your mother, because we know that it's so out of love, and how you have to be so delicate with your conversations with her, being ever so cognizant of where, you know, what she may remember, what she may forget. And so I think there's a special grace that's on you for that. And what things do your mom, now I remember your mom's is a boot scooter, a dancer, dancing with her friends. What things do you think that she misses the most, or does she verbalize things that she wants to do, but you know that she probably can't do it?
She misses going all the time with her friends,
her girlfriends,
you know,
and neighbors.
And we understand, you know, that some people, they're not sure, you know, about taking her out, or you know, what their role would be. But she really misses, you know, she used to go out with her friends probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 nights a week.
I would see them. I would see them out.
I mean, go out to eat, and sometimes it would be a big group. Sometimes it would be 1 or 2. And she misses the boot scooters terribly. She misses her silver sneakers groups. All of the different groups. Some of them are actually groups that were designed by someone else that she plugged into, and then like the boot scooters and the silver sneakers. But then there was groups that they found her. You know, they used to call her I guess they still do. They call her a Methodist because she sang in the chancel choir with the Methodist church and raised us in the Methodist. But most of those ladies go to First Baptist. And our church stopped doing night services years ago, and Mama likes the traditional service, so they invited her, and she started going to their church. And then in the summer, the two churches' schedules are different, so she would go with them whenever they were doing something that we weren't. And so they called her a Methodist because she was like half Methodist and half Baptist, and they all love her and accepted her whether she was there all the time or not. So.
That is so great. And you know, when you talk about when a person loses memory, and you know, I often pray for God to just continue to give me a sound mind, because I always say I've got the memory of an elephant. You know, I can remember things from when I was like 3 years old. And I cherish that. And so when a person is used to being in a certain place as far as socializing and being with people, I know that affects her in such a way.
It really does.
And so,
and I'm trying to find ways, you know, around it, but I know she gets tired of being just with me all the time.
And you know, she's very, and your mother is very, well, we've been saying that she's used to doing her own thing.
Yes.
And now here she is. She's depending on one of her daughters, her grandchildren, and all her and so that's got to be hard for her.
Absolutely.
Whether she's even able to say it.
My children and I, you know, we realized early on when we were doing this. But I'll be honest, you know, that things have changed. They keep progressing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some of the things that have changed are actually make it easier. It's not as, because she doesn't remember as much, she's not hurt as much. Wow. You know, so it's a two-edged sword. But like you say, she can remember anything from the past. You know, she can remember what she wore her 3rd birthday party. She can remember all the arts and crafts she used to make with us, and clothes she made for us, and my sister singing in different places and getting awards for this or that. She can remember.
She can
all
remember
that.
those things.
But then in the now, I'll share one thing. I may not share, but she saw pictures of my sister Marianne that had passed away.
Yeah.
And she said, "Did you ever get to meet Marianne? Did you get to know her?" And I looked at her. I said, "Mom, I think you mean, did my children get to meet her and know her?" I said, "Marianne passed away when she was 37. I grew up with her. Yes, I know her." Oh, you know, and I was right. That's exactly, she was thinking, did my daughter, Lauren, get to know her? She couldn't remember whether my children knew her before she passed away or not. And, but she asked me, did I know her?
Did you know her?
You know, and so it's so much. I mean, you can be kind as easy as you can not, you know. And I take a breath and said, you know, I didn't say what I was thinking. I was like, it's my sister. Of course I know her.
Yeah.
Because then that makes her feel bad.
Right.
You know, so you said, did you mean, did my children get to?
Yes.
You know, but you hate to feed an idea that might not be there, but she said that's exactly what I meant, you know.
And you know, it's good that you're able to do that the way you're thinking. Like your wheels on your bus are constantly thinking when you're dealing with your mother and when you're handling situations with her, you're constantly thinking about, how should I say this? How should I word this? I don't want her to be offended. I don't want her to feel any type way. So you're very sensitive to your mom, to who your mom is.
I'll be honest, I'm sure I have my share. We all have our share.
I think we do.
Saying something and then thinking, I should have thought one more second before I said that. But we try, so far we have, you know, taken care of any major, you know, and the biggest thing was retraining our brains to not say, I just told you that.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest things that I would share with people when they're starting to help. And it doesn't matter if, no one should ever feel guilty if they're not able to keep their parent at home. but they still going to have special time with their parent. If they have them in one, I don't want to name the different facilities because I'm afraid I'll miss one, and they're all great. But, if they have their loved one in a facility and they go to visit, they need to be just as careful as, of that time being cherished.
Right.
And being
Quality.
a privilege. Every time I say the blessing, I say, thank you for the privilege of spending time together.
Oh, that's
and she
good.
said, you think of the time you're spending with me as a privilege, you probably don't really feel that way. And I said, it is a privilege.
Wow.
I could have lost you that night on,
That's right. That's right.
March 21st of 2016.
That's right.
At 11:15, I know.
I know you do.
And I do cherish the time I have with her. And honestly, sometimes it's wonderful and sometimes it's sad.
Yeah.
But I still cherish the memories that we do have and the time that we spend together.
Very good. We're going to take one final break, and then we're going to, end it up with a message that you want the people to know about having a mother or family member with Alzheimer's. We'll be back in just a moment.
Portions of this program are brought to you by Bailey's Custom Flooring. Treat your home or business to a makeover today with Bailey Custom Flooring, a proven contractor of commercial and residential coverings. Bailey Custom Flooring, locally owned and operated by Bill Bailey, offering floor covering sales and installation. For more information, call 290-6084. Smalley's Animal Hospital has been a leader in animal care in the Dublin-Lawrence area for over 60 years. Dr. Jim Hobby, Peggy Hobby, and Michelle Hubbard are waiting to serve you today. The friendly and knowledgeable staff can help you with your pet no matter how big or how small. Smalley's Animal Hospital can even take care of farm animals. Smalley's Animal Hospital, 600 East Jackson Street in Dublin. Call today for an appointment, 478-272-2933. Smalley's Animal Hospital, mending God's creatures, great and small.
And we're back. It's been so great to sit here with Janice and to have you talk about your mom and just kind of the highs and lows of the first onset of diagnoses and the symptoms that you saw and how you as a family of caregivers are navigating throughout to be able to be there for your mom. And I think we all have someone, back years ago, you would hear somebody would have a family member, they would say they had old timers. You remember hearing that.
My mother even says that sometimes.
She says it sometimes.
She used to say
yes.
it before she really had.
And so I think that there's so many advances in medications, so many advances as far as facilities to be able to help take care of that individual. There's so much more information out now for you to be able to read about it, to be informed about what to look for, and there's support groups for caregivers that will help you when you need a break, as far as a mental break, because we know that it's so difficult to see a loved one in that position when you remember how they used to be.
Right.
And so we want the people out there, Dublin, Lawrence County, the surrounding areas, to just understand that when we're doing shows like this, it's to kind of help you to understand what individuals, what families experience when they're faced with this sometimes a difficult decision to make on whether to be the caregiver or put into a facility, and how you're going to continue to live, because you still want to live, you still want to enjoy the quality time and the quantity that you have with your mom. And I have an aunt, and you have to also be careful. Sometimes the things that they say, don't take it to heart.
Right.
I have an aunt that she can't remember certain things, but she'll often ask, how's Pat and those children? And so she remembers certain things that'll come to her mind. And so I would go visit her, and I'm just talking to her, and she'll say, this is just out of the blue, you sure enough getting fat. And so for me, you know what I'm saying?
That hurt your feelings.
I could take that and cry, but I would say something like, well, I'm feeling out with this junk in the trunk right here. And she just laughs.
Right.
But, you know, I don't take that to heart.
Right.
And I know that a lot of times they can say some things.
And my children had to learn that, you know.
Yeah.
I've had, you know, we've had some
Some
moments where a child would come to my room and say, I know I signed up for this.
I'm done.
But I don't really want to be talked to that way or said this or that. And I'm like, but she doesn't understand that she's hurt your feelings. And she said, well, I'm telling you that she did. And I was like, okay, well, you know, so we went through a stage where I had to remind my mom in a strong voice, but loving voice, that be kind to your caregivers.
Right.
And I would just say that we didn't get into naming names of who the caregiver was or whatever. We were just a general. Let's don't forget to
Mama.
don't forget to be kind to your caregivers. That way, whoever it is, you know. Well, what have I done that's not kind? I said, well, sometimes you can hurt people's feelings just like they can hurt yours, and we just want to make sure we're all treating each other with love, like you raised us, you know. And I would go back and put it kind of back on her, the way you raised us to be.
Good.
You know.
You're giving her that,
you know,
reminding that responsibility of what you was placed on her to be the mother to you.
Others the way you want to be
treated.
That's right.
So, Mama, don't make your grandkids cry. And
so we've been very blessed that those have been very minimal.
Good.
And we really hadn't had anything like that in over 6 months. But
that's wonderful.
There was a few little
keep
wrinkles
going.
in the carpet when we started. So.
And that's to be expected.
And we're also not trained professionals. We're learning. We were learning, and we learned that sometimes we need to just avoid certain situations or certain conversations, as to not agitate or make anyone uncomfortable.
So. But you're learning as you go.
Right.
But the basis of this is the fact that you love your mother.
Absolutely.
And so therefore, whatever you do, it's still from the heart of love, a loving person, right?
Right.
And so what message do you want the people out there to know about this disease, your family, and how to, you know, encourage someone out there who's experiencing what you all are having to go through, because we know that it's not an easy thing?
Well, again, I think that everybody looks at things differently. I truly believe that I look at this situation differently because of the losses I've had.
Right.
I don't know, before I lost 2 sisters and a father in 3 years' time, I'm not sure I would have looked at things the same way, but I try, and I'm by no means saying that I'm, you know, perfect or do everything right. I don't want anybody to misunderstand that, because I'm far from that, but I do try to look at things as a privilege and appreciate the moments I do have. And when I make a mistake, I try to fix it the next time and not beat myself up over it. So I say all the time, I probably don't go one day without saying to somebody for some reason that I'm a daughter, not a doctor. So I'm not wanting anybody out there to misunderstand, but for me personally, I really think that there are things you can do that aren't necessarily in a book, aren't necessarily in a pamphlet, that might work for your individual loved one.
Right.
Like for me, I really think that the books help, you know, because when she's really confused or really having a day where she knows, she'll say, Janice, I just can't remember anything.
Right.
And please tell me one more time, you know. But when she goes, it's like an escape for her. She'll go rest and read her books. Mainly, she loves Danielle Steele, so
I saw a whole library in her room just at the nursing home. I could
not
believe it.
And she reads, and maybe medically that doesn't keep. I'm not saying that it keeps her disease from progressing, but it keeps her comfortable and happy in the moment. You know, in that day, she doesn't feel like she's sitting there with nothing to do.
Wow.
I've seen in the community where someone was reaching out with doing a fidget board or something for gentlemen.
Right.
You know, I think Mama's fidget board is her books.
And
for her personally,
Right.
I think if she didn't have her books, we would need to give her something for her hands
Right.
and all. But she goes all kinds of places, you know.
Yes, her imagination
right.
just goes.
And we have been blessed with taking her on her, you know, trip that she wanted, you know, please take me to Hawaii before I die.
Oh my gosh.
So we were blessed to have already have accomplished that, and she had gone on a couple of bucket list trips before she got sick.
Yeah.
So, but now a lot of her trips are in her books, and and I think personally, I can tell a huge difference when she's able to read, because we went through a stage with her disease where she couldn't seem to read, and I'm thinking,
Right.
oh my goodness, Lord, please don't
Right.
let that be. And we're not there anymore, but we were there for a little while.
Right.
And what she was doing, she was reading, but she wasn't retaining it apparently, because she used to go through books very quick and use the bookmark and put it up and go to the restroom or whatever and come back. She was rereading it because she couldn't
Rereading it.
remember what she had read. But she read the same book for a month. And I called my sister and I'm like, is that rude of me, cruel of me? Should I go get her another book or just let her read it? And then all of a sudden, she snapped out of it. She said, I've already read this. I'm like, yes, ma'am, you have. Here's another one. And,
Wow,
and
look at
then
that. So
it
she's
all
still
came back.
reading.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
My oldest son brought her a box full, I can't remember, but about 14 books of her favorite author
Yeah.
that he stumbled across on an outing with his wife. Books wasn't even in the plan. They were picking strawberries and having strawberry ice cream.
Right.
And there were some ladies selling books, and he stumbled across someone that
How special.
loved the author as much as she
Right.
did, and he picked her up like 14 of those books, and I think she's down to 2 now, but she has really put a hurting on those books. She loves reading.
That's such a blessing, and we're so glad that she's still doing something that she truly loves and what that's doing for her mentally too as well. Well, it's been a pleasure, Janice. It has truly been a pleasure.
I appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you, because we know that this is something that's very personal, very intimate with your family. So thank you for agreeing to share with us, you know, how you all are working together to love on your mom.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
It's been wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, you've met Miss Janice Gruber, the daughter of Nanette Anderson, sharing with us about her very special mother and how you and Georgiana and the boys and the girls are all working together.
Yes,
And we
ma'am.
thank you for that. It's a beautiful, beautiful act of love, what you're doing.
Thank you.
All right, we hope that this show has been a blessing to you, as it was for me being able to be here to sit with you and to listen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for Real Talk here on TV 35. So please keep watching.